Today, we're going to talk about raising worms in your kitchen and how you can create really great soil from your kitchen scraps. I'm Danielle from the Split Arrow Farm, and welcome to our channel. If you've been along for the journey, then you'll know that Chris and I recently purchased a plot of land that we're looking to turn into a farm. And these videos just showcase our journey. So if you want to get in along on the ride, then you're going to want to hit that subscribe button. But let's get into worms. First off, let's talk about what worm composting is. It's turning your old kitchen scraps into black gold. And you're going to do this through having a worm composting bin where you'll put in your table scraps. Now, these are going to be any of your kitchen composting scraps that would include anything like eggshells, if you're cooking up dinner and you have vegetables and you want to cut off the ends, some of the lettuce on the outside, Brussels sprouts, anything like that. Anything that's like an animal product, you're going to want to leave out of there though. And this is going to make sure that there are no bugs or gnats or smells that are going to be in your composting bin. So what we like to do is every week I'll feed the worms. I'll feed them about once a week, but in between them, we are always cooking. So I do have a compost container that I will sit out on my kitchen counter. This is my composting bin that we'll put on the kitchen counter. I got this from Amazon and it's really great. It actually has a nice lid in here that covers up any of the smell and makes sure that there's no bugs that get inside. So it keeps kind of those scraps safe so you can put that in with your worms at the end of the week. And inside here, as you can see, we'll put eggshells, ground coffee. If you have non-bleached coffee filters, you can throw them in there, and then any ends and bits of vegetables or fruit. So think the core of your apple. Instead of throwing it out, you can feed it to your worms and make some beautiful worm castings that can turn into highly nutritious soil. I watched a lot of different vermicomposting videos and I did so much research before actually getting my worms. But when I introduced them to the bin, I was astonished. I had read a little bit that when you introduce the worms, that they might take a little bit of time to acclimate, and that rang so true. I first put the worms into the bin, and you're going to want to do this making sure that there's about 1/3 to 2/3 of that brown material. So that can be anything like leaves, some soil already, cardboard, newspapers with no colored ink or bleached paper. And then the rest is going to be some of your compost material. And even that first week, you might want to hold off on the compost so they can really acclimate to the space. When we put the worms in, we listened to all those instructions. I put in some Brussels sprout ends, and that was that. I put the bin into the garage, and this was during the summer, so it was nice and cool in there, but not too cold. And the worms every single night would try to escape the container. It was actually quite comical because like you wake up in the morning and I'd come downstairs and there would be worms all along the edges of the lid. So I'll show you the lid. So they'd be all along the edges here, and I would have to come in every morning and just like scrape them back in. And some of them would even end up on the floor and you're just scrambling to get all your worms back in. And I felt kind of bad because I wanted the worms to have a space that they liked. And I did find that in due time, the worms started to think of it like their home. They never try to escape anymore, and that's because I really learned how to make the environment optimal for the worms. So you're gonna find that wherever you live and the conditions that you live in, you want to find that optimal space for your worms. How much food is the right amount? By testing, I definitely start lower than necessary. And then if you see that you come the next week and there's nothing left, add more that week and make sure that you're providing enough brown materials so they have that as well for their bedding. But that space is going to be super important to making the soil that you really want. What are the benefits of vermicomposting? First off, they provide nutritious, rich soil that increase the soil's ability to hold nutrients in a plant available form. They're going to improve the structure of the soil. They're going to improve the aeration and internal drainage of heavy clay soils, and it provides beneficial bacteria for your plants to really provide that optimal environment for your herbs or plants within your house. And it's something that is green and just reusing all of the scraps from your kitchen to create something great for everyone, both the worms, the plants, and the environment. Let's talk about the worms. Worm's a worm, a worm's a worm. Nope. There are many different types of worms. And the worms in your backyard, the night crawlers, are not the worms that they're going to want to use for worm composting. The best types of worms for vermicomposting are going to be your red wigglers. And this is because they live in that area that's just around the surface of the soil, and they are going to eat a lot of those table scraps very quickly. The red wiggler worms will double in population every 90 days. So every 3 months they will be doubling. So if you get 1,000 worms, which is about a pound of worms, then in 3 months you will have 2,000 or 2 pounds. When we got ours, we definitely did not get enough for the amount of table scraps that we use per week. We do a lot of cooking. We use a lot of vegetables and eat a lot of fruits, and those apple cores do not go quick enough with the amount of worms that we got. So definitely a learning experience for me is that I would have gotten more worms at the beginning. So I would definitely jot down your week by week, how much table scraps do you guys have? How many are you using? And that will kind of gauge what the amount of worms is that you should get. Don't worry if you don't get enough, because they are going to double in population every 3 months, so you have time to build up to it. And again, you're going to want to just create that environment that is best for your worms, making sure that it is not too harsh of an environment, not too cold, not too warm, and you're giving them the right consistency that they need. Your worms are going to be great, and you're going to find that vermicomposting is really easy once you start to do it. It really just requires weekly check-ins. At the beginning, maybe checking in more on your worms, and as you go moving forward, you can check less on them and kind of have a routine that happens and makes it part of your weekly schedule. Worms like dark, damp places. So let's close the lid on these worms, and I'll put them back in the pantry. But I just wanted to say that if you guys liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, as it does support our channel. And we'll see you guys again next week. Every Sunday we post new videos on everything that we're doing to prepare our land to become a farm, and we can't wait to have you along for the journey.